concert pipeline. I'm a monster, I rhyme sign. And if you want to tell me that I'm with this falling, I don't even know why you keep on calling. Come and find me, cause you know that I'm here balling. I'm with the concert, I am not a monster. Hit my phone, no answer, I am not a dancer. But I've been talking British and I've been looking Jiddish, and I don't know why you've been acting so skittish. Yeah, I'm about to show you that at this Quidditch that I've been playing with, ain't nobody that can get it. Cause all my lyrics ain't no gimmick. I'm about to show you that I'm a frog, so I ribbit. Yeah, I'm hopping on the beat, but I'll never taste defeat. Cause I know that I speak till my words are out of reach. If you want it, you can get it, like I'm sipping on that bleach. Cause I'm about to go get it, man. I know that I'm a streak away from winning. I don't know why I keep sinning. I know that I keep forgiving, but I'm about to hit the linen. Oh my goodness, this is that real shit. I'm about to show you that this is how it feels, kid.
Hello and welcome to Concert Pipeline. That's Jens Schipkel.
Hey, Steve. Steve Jones.
That's right. We are live.
Got your beer?
I do have a beer, yes, of course. You know I come
Beer
prepared.
do you have left?
I got half a beer left. Is that going to be enough?
I got less than that. Yeah, we might have to do a refill, right? No, not ration. You just have to refill.
I can't refill. Two is enough. I did my work on the Peloton, an hour and 15 minutes today. I don't want to offset that too much.
What beer? This is your first beer of the day.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
When did you have a beer before this?
I had a beer at dinner.
Beer slut. You had a beer with other people?
I did. I cheated on you with another beer.
Oh, you're killing me. You're killing me.
Yeah. Well, Jens, I'll pull you out here and I'll tell you that we have a good show today with a musician that I got to talk to. His name is Pablo, but the band is called Good Bison. And
Bison.
Good Bison, yes.
Play on words like, oh man, that bison I ate is so good.
So good. It's so good.
It could have been like Good Buffalo.
Could have been like that. But so I mean, I'll tell you, I didn't even connect this, right? It's like in Breaking Bad where the character Saul Goodman, and he even kind of pitches it at some point. Saul Goodman,
like Goodman. It's all good, man.
Yes, like that.
Dude, that's really clever. I don't know if I caught that.
Yeah,
on the show. I didn't even know Saul's name was Goodman.
That's his name.
You're talking about the Better Call Saul.
Yes,
guy.
Better Call
His
Saul.
Last name's Goodman.
Yep. Well, I mean, so it's not his real name in the show.
It's the character name.
It's the character. I mean, if you watch Better Call Saul, you'll find out more about Saul Goodman and that his name is not actually Saul Goodman.
I never got that far in Better Call Saul.
You didn't get that far.
I couldn't make it through the first year. I think maybe I did make it for the first year, but he made. I mean, that character. They did such a good job at making him so pathetic. I just couldn't freaking. I was just so sad. I couldn't keep on watching it.
It's definitely a different show than Breaking Bad for sure. But
completely different.
Yeah. I'm rewatching Breaking Bad now actually, and it's all good.
Oh yeah.
It's
all good, man. So
I love the show.
With buffaloes.
So yes, I was getting to a point that after the interview, actually shortly after, which is interesting because I had all the time leading up to it, but I never connected it. But Good Bison ties into Pablo's kind of history and how he emigrated to the United States with his mom from Colombia to Miami, and so he ultimately left her in Miami to come to LA to pursue a music career with a couple of friends. And so Good Bison, I mean this would have been something good to talk about, but he it makes sense, right? Good Bison.
Goodbye, comma son. Goodbye.
Right.
Son. That's sad.
I know, right? But it's also clever, and I like it.
It's really clever. That's really clever.
Yeah, it's clever. Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Respect,
and also he was a Guinness Book of World Records holder. Jens. He has a spot. He was. I think he got beat. And also in post-interview research, he got beat. but he had the longest free flowing session.
Oh, for like rapping or whatever.
Me freestyling for 26 hours. Yeah.
I remember you telling me this, and my reaction was like, "What?"
I don't even know.
Like, I have so many questions. You know, number one, how do you stay up that long with that kind of energy, right? I mean, I'm thinking you're popping something. You got your Adderalls or whatever, right?
I don't know anything about it. Yeah.
And then two, like, you gotta pee at some point, right? You keep on doing it, you know, rap. You keep on doing your freestyle.
I guess so.
Taking a leak.
God, I don't want to spoil too much about the interview, but he told me that the Guinness Book gives you 5-minute break every hour, but he didn't use them really. So he wanted to be committed to the act of doing it. So
that's dedication.
I would say so.
That was cool. So. Wow. Yeah. I would have never thought. Oh, the other thing I was thinking is like, he's got to repeat some words, right? I mean, if he's going to be totally unique for 26 plus hours, I mean, you're going to run out of words.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure there's a good amount of repetition here, but man, what damage that would do to like your vocal cords and everything. It's just like, I can't even imagine. But
it would be hilarious to compare the first 5 minutes with the last 5 minutes, just to compare like how his voice is different, you know?
Yeah, you're like, I can't watch all 26 hours, but compare the beginning to the end. But
if you're ever stuck at an airport in some foreign country for 26 hours, listen to this. I bet it's going to be interesting.
It's a cool claim to fame, right? So
yeah, and unique.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God, he has the biggest shoe size or something. You know?
No. You
might.
I might have a solid 12, but no, Shag and I have pretty big feet, right? Yeah, right. So yeah. So we have that.
Good for him.
I'm taking a trip, which is exciting. Not a plane trip or not a cruise or anything along those lines, but I'm taking the kids on a road trip.
Yay!
To Lake Tahoe.
I'm jealous. That sounds like so much fun. I'm really missing the snow. I'm gonna let you share your story. I just wanted to interrupt really quickly because as you're sharing your Tahoe trip, I have to tell you that my dad just sent me a photograph today, and it's dumping snow in Seattle. There was like they got a freaking foot of snow. Like,
wow.
It's unheard of. Like with all this global warming. I mean, they haven't had snow. I remember that was kind of the norm when I was a kid, you know, but they haven't, that's like bizarre now. And so it's like, oh yeah, that's so cool. A whole foot of snow. I want to go to Tahoe.
Pretty exciting for him, huh?
Yeah. He made a snowman. He made a snowman. He went outside, he went to the lawn area, he made a snowman. And if you had made this, Steve, and you had asked me, what does that look like? I would have said, that looks like a volcano. It says there's no human shape in this thing. It's just like a cone.
Did he at least put like a carrot or some Oreos or a coal or something?
Yeah, he took a carrot and he broke it into 3 pieces, like eyes.
Oh God, the carrot's the eyes too, huh? Okay.
Yeah. And then there's like a welcome to Maui or something hat on it.
You're reminding me.
Snow.
I should bring some supplies to make a snowman, a solid snowman for the trip. So
do it. Totally do it.
So that's a good call out because the kids, my daughter wanted to go see, go to the snow. I mean, I'm like, really right now? Like we're in tropical weather here. It's like springtime here in California. I mean, and we're going to where Tuesday is going to be 16, on the low end. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that'll be fun. But it'll be good to get away. It really will. I needed a break.
Totally will. Yeah.
And my daughter has a break from school, so I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it.
And Tahoe is close enough, where it works logistically, and you feel like, you could have hopped on a plane and gone to Colorado or something.
Yeah. And so we're renting an Airbnb that has 5 beds in it. There's only 3 of us that are staying there, but we have five beds.
How many nights?
2 nights.
2 nights. Okay, so you can do like musical bedrooms. You can switch
You
around.
we can switch around, whatever, you know, and I don't have to see them if I don't want to, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
You can be like, I don't
uh,
even care what room you guys are in, just leave me alone.
exactly, right? So there'll be some of that, but it'll be, I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I'll report back on the next pod. How's that?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you need any firewood, I don't know if they've got a fireplace or like maybe something out back, like I might have some more, or you might even have more firewood.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff.
So it's funny. So I'm actually running low on firewood, and I've been today texting with my dad because he has a house in Nevada City and he has a bunch of firewood there, and so I'm like, maybe I stop by his house on the way or something. On the way back, it's not really on the way back, but
you totally could. Yeah, you just take the side road. You don't have to drive back to the freeway. It's just kind of a little bit of a.
It's a little detour.
Little detour, yeah, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a really pretty road.
Yeah, so I might do that and then load up on firewood on the way back because it'd be good to have some. But I mean,
are you in North Lake or South Lake?
South Lake, so it's really not on the way back.
That's not
I know,
yeah. That's no, don't do
that. No. I know. It's I don't know.
It's gonna take you like half a day.
Yeah, you still have more firewood you need me to take off your hands or something?
Well, as I said that, I'm thinking I don't know if I really have much firewood left. I have some stuff. Yeah, I just don't know. I think it's more like kindling at this point.
Yeah.
Than actual firewood.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm not committed to doing that yet, but we'll have time on the way back, and maybe it'll happen. So
sounds good.
I don't know, but should be a good trip. So anything you wanted to add before we hop into our guest here?
No, just my frustration at waking up in the morning. You've got that plan of things that you want to get done, and then something completely ruins that, right? So for me, I had a couple of projects I wanted to work on. I got up in the morning and I figured, you know what, I better just get some chores out of the way, better just do some dishes, better do some laundry.
And didn't.
Our washing machine, we bought new, I think from Best Buy, shortly after we bought this house. So I think it's like 7 years old or something. And it's an LG. I think we paid like $800 for it. And I put clothes in it like I always do, put the soap in, turned it on. And
that's what you do with the washing machine, yeah?
That's what you do with the washing machine, yeah. No rocket science here, right? And after about 20 minutes, it makes this horrible noise, like it sounded like God, I don't even know. It's like I recorded it and I sent it to you, like grinding. Yes. It's grinding like noise, like and it did that every time it was on the spin cycle, right? So it wouldn't spin, but it would make that grinding noise.
This is it right here.
There you go.
There you go. Like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that even doesn't even show off how loud it was in person. And I'm looking at this thing like, I don't think this machine is going to make it through this cycle of laundry. And I'm just kind of praying, oh my God. I'm thinking it's going to last us throughout the month. It's going to last us throughout the month, but it died before the laundry was finished, and it locks the door, right? Because the water level is higher.
So that's the thing with the new. That's the thing with and the ones that have the front facing open.
It's a front
opening.
Loader, yeah.
You can't can't let that open because every water is going to come gushing out like it's a lady's water breaking or something, right? So
yeah,
not
the comparison I would have made, but spot on.
Yeah, and so I get it, but my washing machine is upward facing, and it's ancient, and it shakes the house, but I can open the lid at any time if I need to.
Exactly, right. That's a much better design for things like that. So I'm like, fuck, what do I do? And I kept on trying to turn it on in different ways. Like, what if I just turn it on and I say, start a new cycle, like start over again, because I think what the machine does is it drains any remaining water and then starts over again, but it didn't restart. So it never drained anything. And I thought, well, if I just put it on, on spin and no washing or rinsing, then it's gonna, it should drain the water and then start spinning, which it wouldn't do, but I didn't care about that. I just wanted to get rid of the water, but it didn't do that either. Fuck. So I had to take the little drain hose, which is at the bottom, and put it into a tiny little bucket, right? So it's so freaking frustrating. So the drain hose is as far down as the floor is, right?
Yeah.
So you can't like get a bucket and make this tiny hose go up like and into the bucket.
No.
Because it has to be as far down as you can in order to get all the water out. It took like an hour and a half for me to figure out how to get all this water out. I took a hose, I took the garden hose, and I put that little tube inside
nozzle,
the hose,
yeah.
the nozzle inside the hose, and I just tried to get all the water through the hose and out to the backyard. And I had all the gravity right, like it was all going downhill. There were no the hose wasn't going up anywhere, which would have blocked the flow of water. But it just made a fucking huge mess, right? I had water everywhere. I spent more time mopping than I did getting water out of this damn thing. And then my dog is so excited about all the drama. He's like trying to drink this water, and it is filthy. I'm like, oh my God, what did we do to our clothes? It's all dirty and like, oh my God. Anyway, so all day project. Finally done with it. I went to the laundromat for the first time and I don't know how long. I can't remember the last time I actually went to a local laundromat. I mean,
did you have quarters? Did you have enough quarters for the laundromat?
You know what? It's hilarious that you asked that. It's hilarious that you asked that because I am chronically paranoid. It being, I have this legitimate fear that when I need to find a parking spot, I'm not going to have enough quarters. Yeah. Because you have fears like that when you live in or around San Francisco, because parking is outrageous. You put a quarter into a parking meter in San Francisco and it gives you like
a minute and a half or something.
Minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So it's like $10 or whatever just for an hour.
Luckily, most of them have started taking cards, but yeah.
Right. Finally, yes, they finally transitioned. So did the laundromat. So I go into this laundromat with my bucket of wet laundry, and which is really heavy, by the way, like crazy heavy wet laundry, so heavy. And then I had 3 in my car. I had like those little pill bottles, like the orange ones.
Yeah.
Like
oh gosh, I knew you had those.
Prescription.
I know you've had those. Yeah, you've had those for a long time.
I keep them just to put quarters in, right? So I've got like 3 packs of these things in the car filled with quarters, and I haven't used them in years. But I'm like, oh my God, I'm finally going to be able to get to use some quarters. And then I get to the laundromat and it's like, $5.50 for a load of laundry. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to put that many quarters. And then I realized, you can download this app and you just open up your camera and take a picture of the code, and then that's it. And I said, okay, that's cool. I'm going to do that. So I did that. And it was the most amazing thing. I mean, it's like you scan the little code on the laundry machine and you confirm your order for laundry, and the fucking thing starts.
Wow. It's magical.
It's like, whoa, that is so cool. And this isn't some fancy laundry machine. I mean, this is just whatever, laundry machine next to 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got your clothes clean. Did you buy a new washing machine?
Spent a lot of time researching and stuff. I think I found the right one, and I'll place the order. It should be here end of the week.
Good.
Yeah.
So you might need another trip to the laundromat before then. Yeah?
I don't care.
Maybe. No.
I'll just wear a blanket.
Fair. You don't have anything to dress up for, so.
Exactly. Working from home. Nobody needs their nice shirt anymore, right?
Great story, Eds. I think it's a good time to bring in our guest, don't you? Yeah.
Let's do that.
All right. So, like I said, this is Good Bison. We're going to get right into the interview. Here it is. Yeah. How's your day going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just been getting some work done and took my dog for a walk. Nothing too special.
Hey, I mean, that's where we're at right now, right? Like, it's a highlight of your day. I just got back from the dentist, and when I was at the dentist, she's like, "Okay, so what's new?" I'm like, "Not much, not much."
Yeah, it's like it's been pretty much Groundhog Day, just over and over again.
Yes. Did you watch it? Are you one of those that watches Groundhog Day on Groundhog Day? I'm guilty. I did that. So
I've done it once, but I haven't made it a thing. No.
no, it's fun, and then you fall asleep watching it. It's great anyway. That's how I watch movies anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me kind of how you've been, how this past year has been for you, and how COVID has affected you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what we were saying, honestly. At a certain point, all the days just kind of start bleeding into each other. I would say that the early months of the pandemic were very scattered. And I mean, I guess like everyone else, I had no idea what was going on or how long it would last. So I had this idea that it would be over relatively quickly, all things considered. So I was just holding out for that. And then when it became clearer and clearer that this was going to keep going, I started feeling somewhat overwhelmed because it felt like I was just letting all this time pass me by without making the sort of moves that I consider important in my life. And I had been organizing these monthly live shows with touring and local up and coming musicians. And so once the pandemic just put the brakes on that, and I realized that I wasn't going to be able to get back to that anytime soon, I found myself answering this gravitational pull to just create new music. And that's what motivated me to get back in the studio. I hadn't really been making music, but I had all this time on my hands, and I was feeling anxious that I wasn't doing anything. And I felt like I had all these things bottled up inside of me that no longer had any outlet. And so that's how I just kind of got back into writing, recording music. And that honestly helped a lot. It just gave me a lot of direction, a lot of purpose. And that's what's really kept me going lately.
Yeah, and it had been a few years for you since you had been in the studio and recorded, right? Was it this thing that was missing for you?
Yeah, it had been a few years. The last time I released music really was in 2017. That was a mixtape that I worked on called That's Bodie. And after I released that, I think I lost a lot of the fire that I had inside of me. And it was just difficult for me to put myself in a creative mindset. It wasn't only that I had released that mixtape, which I felt I had put so much into, but I had also, right around that time, broken the Guinness World Record for the longest freestyle rap. And I just kind of, it was almost like I tapped out after that. And I wanted to retreat into myself and not feel that pressure to keep going, which was all in my own head. It was just this blocker that I had that was keeping me from being creative or keeping me from feeling motivated. And so I had to almost rediscover my passion for music. And that came about really two things. One is I started playing guitar, and the other one is I started just listening to a lot more music, and not music that was coming out right now, but I went back to the 60s, 70s, 80s. I was just consuming a lot of that music, and watching a lot of live performances both on YouTube and going to shows, going to concerts. I went to Dave Grohl's Cal Jam Festival, and it was just such an incredible experience. And I remember I saw Robert Plant perform, and I was pretty close to the front of the stage, and I just couldn't believe that I was seeing him live. And then he starts playing Going to California, and I absolutely lost it. I was like, oh, I remember what I'm here for. I remember why I got in the studio the first time. And all of that just kind of slowly woke me back up, and I felt that fire inside again. And once I was feeling that, that's when I started organizing those live shows and stuff. But once those got put on hold, it brought me back to the studio.
Yeah. So was it Robert Plant's performance or Foo Fighters, the whole festival? What was it that kind of, triggered?
It was a combination of everything, honestly, because like I said, I was already starting to play a little more guitar around that time. And I think that festival was one of the first live shows that I had been to probably in a couple years, 1 or 2 years. And Foo Fighters capped off the night, but I think already by that point I was on a pretty wild high. And I would say it was mostly Robert Plant and let's say Foo Fighters, but it was every artist that I saw there. I saw Youngblood. I had never heard of Youngblood before I saw him live, and I was mesmerized by his performance. I saw Tenacious D live there, and
Yeah, there you go.
it was incredible. It was just so much energy, and all of these people connected, and I was just really overwhelmed, and it felt like it put everything in perspective for me again, where I was thinking, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. This is why I'm in the spot that I'm in the first place.
Yeah. So I want to kind of talk about the differences between That's Bodhi and your new EP. I mean, I think there was there was a big period of time that was in between the two, but there was also, I think, a transformation in you musically between the two as well, right? So, like, and I want to hit on, I want to hit on a lot that you just kind of brought, but let's start there. Like with That's Bodhi. Tell me kind of how you kind of approach that musically. I mean, I was even listening to it today, and I mean, it's really creative, and I dig it. So.
Thank you. I went into That's Bodhi originally with the mindset that I was gonna make a pure hip hop project. That was what I wanted to do, because the first Good Bison project that we did, Buffalo Roots, after we released that, the people who I was working with, Maudie and Seabass, who are just some of my best friends, and also we've collaborated on music for over a decade at this point, but we weren't necessarily on the same page about what we wanted to do next. And I am a very anxious person, and when I get going, I kind of just want to keep going. So in my mind, going into That's Bodhi, I was like, okay, if you guys aren't where I'm at right now, that's totally fine. I'm going to make this hip hop project, and then we'll reconvene afterwards and see where we're at. But once I started working on That's Bodhi, they also got involved with the creation, and I started working with a bunch of different producers. It kind of evolved a little bit past what I originally intended, which was a straight hip hop mixtape, which I wanted to spend no longer than a month or so on. And I ended up spending a year on that project making it. So by the end of it still has very, very heavy hip hop roots, and some of the songs I would say are just pure hip hop. But I kind of listen to it almost as a journey where it starts in this very hip hop place, but as it progresses, it sort of leaves that realm. And I started feeling like it was laying the building blocks for what would come next for Good Bison. So it's basically that second half of the mixtape when it goes into Wavy and Why'd You Leave and Campeon and Johnny Utah, where I'm really starting to feel like, okay, this is different. This is something, this wasn't what I set out to make. This isn't that pure hip hop sound, which you can find on Real Shit or YBMF or Updog or Silo Rough, which are songs that I really like, but they're just hip hop. Like not to say just hip hop to devalue it in any way, but that's what I went in to make, and that's what came out. Whereas the later half of the mixtape became much more melodic, much more genre bending, I would say. And that's what then really opened the doors for me in terms of what I could do musically on my own and with others.
Yeah. So as a kid, now I know you you immigrated here from Colombia, right, with your mother, to Miami. Like, what did you listen to as a kid, and how did that influence you?
Definitely. So my mom loves music, and she was always playing music ever since I can remember. But before moving to the US, it was all Spanish music. So I would listen to a lot of Carlos Vives. He's one of Colombia's biggest artists, and he was and in general just a lot of Colombian music. So like Shakira, Carlos Vives, Juanes, Basilos. There's just so many Colombian bands that my mom would just play nonstop, and that's kind of what my introduction to music was. But once I started developing my own taste here, while living in Miami, I would say the first artist I became a fan of was Eminem. I remember listening to the Marshall Mathers LP just front to back over and over and over again. I was obsessed with Eminem in general. So Eminem was kind of my entry point to hip hop in general. And so then I started listening to pretty much anything that was affiliated with Eminem. I was like a loyal fan. So to me, it was, if Eminem gave his stamp of approval, then that was good. So I would listen to Dr. Dre, I would listen to 50 Cent. Then through that, I would listen to The Game, also Jay-Z, because Eminem worked with Jay-Z and had talked about liking Jay-Z. So it was very much, I used Eminem as my almost filter for what was good and what wasn't in hip hop. And so then that led me to very early on, even when, let's say, hip hop was becoming more mainstream, I was already kind of turning my nose up at it or something, where I was like, this isn't real hip hop. Lean with it, rock with it. That's not real hip hop. I'm over here listening to Nas and Jay-Z and Eminem and Tupac. That was huge for me. I just loved hip hop. And then another thing that was really big for me was Green Day. I had a friend who introduced me to Green Day. I don't remember around what album they were at. It was probably Warning. And I was obsessed with Green Day. Green Day became my next obsession after Eminem. And the same way that I'm telling you, where I'm kind of like overly loyal. So I was, in my mind, I divided things, and so I was like, I'm a fan of Green Day, so I'm not a fan of Blink-182. And even though they have toured together, and it was just, to me, I would just almost be like, this is the band that I like, and all these other bands are trying to copy it or something. And
you're protective over them.
Yeah, I was like a little protective over it. But Green Day and Eminem, I would say, were my biggest influences growing up. And I've also always loved the Beatles ever since I was a little kid. Just been a huge fan of the Beatles. So that was what I was mostly listening to when I was younger.
And you mentioned kind of more recently going back and listening to some, you know, older music. I know Beach Boys are on there, Pet Sounds, that you know, you became kind of obsessed with that album, right?
Yeah. So this is funny because it was a couple years ago, and it was around that time when I wasn't particularly passionate about music anymore. Or not that I didn't love music, but I just didn't even know what to put on or what to listen to. And I was riding a lot of bike, and one time I was going on a bike ride, and I just kind of figured, every time I look at a list of the greatest albums of all time, Pet Sounds is right up there. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and then Pet Sounds, or vice versa. So many lists. And to me, the Beach Boys were fun till your daddy took the T-Bird away, or Barbara Ann, or all these songs, which are great. But I was just, I don't understand how we're putting them at that same level as Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. So I figured, why not? Let's give it a shot. Let's put on Pet Sounds. I've never done it start to finish. I actually looked at the track list, and I was surprised that it didn't have what I considered to be their biggest hits. It had Wouldn't It Be Nice, but that was it as far as songs that I really recognized. I started the record, and Wouldn't It Be Nice comes on, and I was like, well, maybe this is why this is such a big record. I mean, Wouldn't It Be Nice is kind of an amazing song. It's this beautiful pop record. And I was listening, and immediately the second song starts. And I think the second song is You Still Believe in Me. And I got chills all over my body. I just had no idea what I was listening to. It sounded modern and timeless all at once. And then the lyrics felt like they had been pulled from the deepest corners of my soul and just put on, that like someone else was speaking my most private thoughts. And that just continued throughout the album, and I just kept getting constantly blown away, constantly just floored by not only the harmonies but the melodies, the instruments. It was just this culmination of creativity, the likes of which I had never heard before, to be honest. And so immediately afterwards, I went and was like, okay, I should listen to whatever the Beach Boys did next, because clearly I've been sleeping on the Beach Boys. And I think what they released afterwards was Smiley Smile. And I was checking it out, and I was, okay, this is still good, but what happened? Something happened here. And that's what then led me to researching Brian Wilson and going down that rabbit hole and just really understanding what happened after Pet Sounds and the Smile sessions, and how then, the tragedy of Brian Wilson's mental health and everything that happened there. It just was so fascinating, and it explained to me why the Beach Boys didn't have another Pet Sounds, why they didn't follow up. It's the Beatles, on the other hand, they have, I think, Revolver, and they follow it up with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, whereas the Beach Boys weren't able to keep building on that. And so it was just fascinating to me. I then realized that it's not that I'm not a fan of the Beach Boys, but what I'm really a fan of is Brian Wilson. And so I went and I listened to Brian Wilson's solo album. I started looking at the credits and just seeing when Brian Wilson contributed something to a Beach Boys record and trying to go there. Not that I don't like Dennis or Carl. I think that they wrote some amazing songs. I actually think Bruce Johnson wrote one of my favorite songs, Disney Girls, is beautiful. But I realized that who I'm really, really a fan of is Brian Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as at what age did you move from Miami to LA?
I was 21.
Okay. And so did you move on your own? Your mom didn't go with you, or?
I moved on my own, yeah, with two friends who
Okay.
Audi and Seabass, who I mentioned earlier.
Right, right. And so how did that change your life? How did you, I mean, you moved out to LA to focus on the band, right?
Yeah,
And tell me about that experience.
I'd say there's a lot of conflicting emotions that come into play because one was obviously just excitement. I had never been to LA before moving here. I just knew I was down to get out of Miami and passionate about continuing to pursue this career that we were developing. But at the same time, it was very difficult to leave my mom back in Miami. And I moved out to LA without a place to live, without a job lined up. Everything was up in the air. And it's very difficult to find or develop real connections here in the city. I realized that pretty early on that LA is very superficial in a lot of ways, and that's not to knock it. I love living here, but it almost felt like I took a giant step forward and a million steps backwards. So it has really taken a long time to get to the point where I feel confident in myself and confident in my music. And that's, I think, a huge part of what led to this new EP, Scattered Storms, because it was that feeling of believing in my vision again, the way that I had in Miami, where it was moving here, I lost a lot of confidence and I lost a lot of resources, and it just kind of felt like starting from scratch.
Yeah. And you rapped about, kind of which on that's Vody, you rapped about wishing you had more confidence when you were younger, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
did you live in kind of a shell a little bit? Were you, isolated? Like, what was that like for you?
Growing up, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, growing up, I was definitely a bit of a loner, I would say. And not necessarily by choice. I definitely got out, and skateboarding was a huge thing for me because that was really how I started to meet people. And through skateboarding, I started having more friends and getting invited to social events, parties, meeting girls, that kind of thing. But I've just always been very introverted, even though in social scenarios it doesn't seem that way. I'm very outgoing, I'm very talkative, I'm really easy to get along with, but inside I'm super self-conscious and constantly second guessing myself. And that led to, I would say, a pretty solitary lifestyle for the most part. And it wasn't until I started making music that I kind of broke that down. And that was around the time that I was 17. I started making music, and that gave me just a huge boost of confidence that started building up over the years, to the point where before moving to Los Angeles, I was very sure of myself. I was confident in not only who I was as a person, but in the art that I was creating. And so that's why when I moved out here, I felt like I was going to bring all that with me, that energy and that confidence that I had developed over the years. And it lingered when I first arrived, but just kind of went slowly fading away.
Yeah. And having started at 17, you've made your music with Maury. Tell me about that dynamic, and what Maury brings out of you musically.
Definitely. So he was there when I recorded my first song. I remember we went to my buddy's house, and he just came to hang out. And I would say he was one of my first supporters too, because he heard what we did and was immediately like, "Can you send this to me? I want to have this on my iPod. This was amazing." and just always very, very supportive of my craft. He loved everything I was doing, and he had been a musician much longer than I had. He's been playing instruments and stuff, I think, ever since he was a kid. He comes from a musical family in that sense, but he had been writing songs and playing guitar definitely since he was 13. So that was a huge boost of confidence for me that this person that I considered a musician not only liked but respected what I was doing as well. So I would say that that's one of the initial boosts that pushed me to keep going. And then right away, he I, I'm not exactly sure how it happened, but I'm pretty sure he was he came to me and was like, I figured out how to play one of your songs on guitar. And once he did that, I started performing them live with him, even just him and I. Or we would go to parties and he would take his guitar and I would freestyle, I would rap. It was just kind of what we would do, and that's kind of how our relationship really started to flourish. And then we worked on music a lot after that, whether it was him performing songs that I had written live, or if we got together and wrote music uh, as a duo. Later on, we were in a band in Miami where he was the guitarist and the second vocalist, and I was the lyricist and the front man. And we had a drummer. We had a bunch of different musicians. So in some way or another, Maudi's just been a constant in my music making journey.
Yeah. So you mentioned this earlier, but I wanted to dig into it a little bit. Guinness Book of World Records, 26 hours, right? Like longest televised freestyle, right? Like
Yeah,
what is this and how does that happen? Like
to be honest, I would say it's a joke that got out of hand. Uh, and what I mean by that is I've always loved freestyling since I started making music. Freestyling was a huge thing for me because, as I mentioned, I was such a fan of hip hop. And to me, if you couldn't freestyle, you weren't a real rapper. That's how I looked at it. And so that was something that I felt I needed to earn my respect by being able to freestyle and being able to hold my own freestyling no matter who was there. And I really considered that when I developed that confidence with my freestyling. I believed, put me in a room with anyone and I will hold my own. It's all good, no worries. And you start getting a little cocky. I remember one time we were at my house, we were drinking, just having a good time. I was freestyling as I usually tend to do. And I look at my friend and I tell him, I could do this all day. I could do this all day. And after I said that, it just kind of lit up a light bulb inside of me where I started thinking, you know what? I probably could do this all day. And I I really thought it would be funny if somebody went to sleep and woke up and I was still freestyling. I just thought that was the most hilarious thing. And so I did it. I did it once just from my living room with my friends. We set up computers and cameras and I live streamed it myself. That time I freestyled for 25 hours. I wasn't trying to break a world record. I wasn't trying to get in the Guinness book or anything like that. I just thought it would be funny. And
do you eat or drink during this, like at all?
I didn't eat anything. I had sips of water and sips of smoothies, but I didn't stop at any point. So after that, Super Deluxe reached out to me a few months down the line and they told me, "We saw what you did. We think it's amazing. Wouldn't you want to do it for real and get in the Guinness Book of World Records?" And initially, I was like, no,
Never want to do that again.
want to do that again. But then I started thinking about it more, and I figured, why not? They're they want to do it. I can do it. Might as well do it right. And so I did it with Super Deluxe, and that was a lot of fun, but it was exhausting. And I would say I had more fun doing it the first time because, and just because it was more of a joke, and then the second time it felt so serious. And because Guinness is very intense about the way that you have to document these record breaking attempts. And so there had to be independent witnesses that shuffle in and out. There has to be detailed note taking. There has to be nonstop footage. It's very, very elaborate. One thing is that Guinness gives you 5-minute breaks for every continuous hour of activity. I didn't take any breaks just because not my style. I figured if we were gonna do it, we might as well just do it all the way.
It's the way to do it. That's incredible. That's really awesome. So at what point did you pick up the piano?
So piano, I played piano when I was a kid, but never got proficient at it, I would say. I played it probably a couple years when I was 13 and then just stopped playing altogether. I would say until a couple years ago when I started playing more guitar. And then cuz I like piano but it just never really inspired me to want to sit down and play or write music on there the way that the guitar kind of did when I got a little more comfortable with it. So to be honest, I consider that I am terrible with instruments. I'm very, very sloppy, and I don't know music theory. I don't know complex chords, but I've had a lot of fun playing guitar, and I have been able to write music on guitar. So, but that's a very recent development for me in
Yeah,
the past couple years.
yeah. So let's talk about Scattered Storms, your new EP. You put out the video for Lunatic, and you mentioned skateboarding, before. I mean, was that a natural kind of go-to for the Lunatic video?
Yeah, I would say that was something that I worked on with my visual director, Crow House. They wanted to incorporate skateboarding because, like we talked about, it was a huge part of my life growing up. And Lunatic is a song that deals with the concept of home. So, what is home? Where is it? How do you get back to it? And in a lot of ways, skateboarding felt like my home for a long time. And that the music video for Lunatic, when I watch it, it really reminds me of those days when we were teenagers and we were just kind of sneaking into spots, getting kicked out, running away from the cops. And I was filming everything on my little camcorder, and then I would go home and I would edit it on Windows Movie Maker and probably put Comic Sans font and whatever I was trying to do because I thought that was cool. So it felt very much like it belonged in the music video, and everybody that worked on it had a skateboarding background to some extent. So it just felt like hanging out with friends and making videos like we used to.
Yeah, and with this EP, you said that you would want to jam out to. You wanted to make something that you would jam out to forever, right? Like, do you feel like this is, what you set out to make?
I definitely think this is something that I would want to listen to at any point. This is a really weird way to put it, but after getting obsessed with Pet Sounds and Brian Wilson in general, I kind of reevaluated what I wanted to do with my music in the sense of whether I wanted to make something that was gonna go number one or I stopped really thinking about it through that lens, and I started putting it, and this is where it gets weird. I was like, what if I could make something that millions and millions of years from now, aliens discover planet Earth and they somehow stumble across either a USB or a CD, wherever the music is living, and they're able to play it, even if they don't speak English and they've never interacted with a human, hope it makes them feel something. Like that's all I really want to do with the music. And that's when I say timeless, I hope that it's something that if you travel back in time and you play it for someone, or you travel forward in time and you play it for someone, it will still make you feel something and have just a certain level of emotion that is universal. And that's what I was really going for. And I do feel that when I listen to the project.
Yeah, and even on Can't Predict the Weather, you incorporated kids' toys into some of the percussions, right? Like, where did you decide to do that?
I would say that was mostly Maudi, honestly. We were recording it at my home studio, and one of the days Maudi came over, he said, "Look, I brought this because I bought it at Ross for $5, and I thought it would be funny." And that's basically how it went down. It was we were like, let's try it out. Maybe it'll sound like shit, maybe it won't. And so we recorded it, and Maudi started playing around with the effects. We actually put guitar pedals on tambourines or guitar pedals on shakers and things like that, which was a lot of fun. But I would say what really motivated it was just being able. I wanted to work with whatever we had around. So it's if we had a $300 tambourine or something, we would have used that. But what we had was this band in a bucket. So
It works.
works, and that was mostly what I wanted to do. I mean, I take everything back to Pet Sounds, but it's, Brian Wilson was using bike horns, he was using whatever he had, he was using unconventional things too, but it was all organic. And that was my biggest thing, that I wanted to move away from that more produced sound of, let's say that's Bodie. I wanted to trade in 808s for an actual drum kit.
Yeah, and it kind of, as you've kind of had this reemergence and kind of been digging into writing and recording more, do you have more music on the horizon? Is there more that you've kind of written and are kind of continuing to kind of build towards maybe a full length, or what are you thinking?
Definitely. I have a lot of music that hasn't seen the light of day. There's more songs that I was working on that I wrote on guitar, that I wrote around the same time as Lunatic and Since I Left Miami, and even songs that I've been writing after, but that I don't know exactly what I want to do with them. I didn't even know, going into Scattered Storms, I was originally just going to make an acoustic EP, and it evolved from that. So now that I have the direction of Scattered Storms, I have a little bit of a clear idea of what I want to do with these other songs, but I'm not necessarily in a rush to get them out. I do have one song which I wrote and recorded before even starting to work on Scattered Storms. It's called I Can't Seem to Find My Place. And that's something that I hope to release as a single in the not too distant future. But I want to revisit it with the context of Scattered Storms.
Say that last part again. You said you had one song and then it cut out. So
I have one song that I would like to release in the not too distant future that I actually wrote and recorded before starting to work on Scattered Storms. It's called I Can't Seem to Find My Place. But I want to revisit it now with the context of Scattered Storms. Not that I want to change it too much, but I was never fully happy with the final product. And that's why I never put it out, because it's a very special song to me. It's one that I think speaks to a very particular moment in my life and has what I hope is a very relatable feeling. That idea of I can't seem to find my place. So I hope to release that soon, but I need to go get back in the studio and tweak some things on it.
Sure, sure. Well, Pablo, thanks for taking the time. My understanding is you might be able to play a song for the podcast.
Yeah, I could play a song. Give me one second.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see. What would you like to hear? Lunatic or Since I Left Miami?
Let's do Since I Left Miami.
All right. Okay. All my clothes lay unfolded on the floor. There's some people who can't get me on the phone. Tell them my bed is broken and I can't get a good night's sleep since I left Miami. I've grown tired, I've grown weak, but I'm gonna get my money right, you'll see. I'm gonna get my money right. Waiting on the platform, I'm waving about the blast off. I'm holding under my blaster and going whiter than Casper. Exasperated, exhausted, examples of how I lost it seem to stack up in my conscience till I'm nothing but a hostage. I can't find a way to focus, like my mind is full of locusts. Give me time to train with Goku and I'll beat the one who broke us. I am supercalifragilistic, espialidocious. If you wanna poison me, you're gonna need a stronger potion. I'll get wavy and vibrate in the space between this moment and the next. I'm trying to steal a longer breath. There's no air in outer space. There's no way to work on Mars. I'd say this trip has been a waste, but there's no way I went that far. All my clothes lay unfolded on the floor. There's some people who can't get me on the phone. Tell them my bed is broken and I can't get a good night's sleep since I left Miami. I've grown tired, I've grown weak, but I'm gonna get my money right, you'll see. I'm gonna get my money right.
Hey, awesome. I love it. That was really great. And yeah, and thanks for taking the time today, Pablo. That's awesome.
No, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. Hopefully we'll talk again before long.
I hope so, and hopefully you can get out to the Bay Area and play some shows, right? In the future. That'd be cool, right?
As soon as I can, I'm there.
That was the interview with Good Bison here on Concert Pipeline. And Jens, that takes us to the final segment on the program. What is it?
It's time for some music news, Steve.
Yeah, my first story is about Weezer.
Yes.
And
what's up with them?
Yeah. So Weezer's Rivers Cuomo is working on a film musical called Buddha Superstar. And he's also shared some more details on the band's new 4-album project.
Okay, wait a minute. What is it called?
Buddha Superstar.
Is that like a play on Jesus Christ Superstar?
It might be, but so he's the Los Angeles band whose latest record, "Okay Human," arrived last month. I did not listen to yet, but I probably should. Recently said that their next idea is a 4-album set where each LP corresponds to one of the 4 seasons. And in a new interview with the 45,
like Vivaldi.
Yeah. Cuomo revealed that the overall project will carry the title Weezer Seasons, with each of its records comprising 8 tracks. The albums are called Summer, Spring, Fall, and Winter.
I could have not predicted that. Like,
Going
no way,
on
that's what they're
here.
called.
Right. He said, revealing that the debut installment will arrive on the first day of spring this year. It's going to take a full year to roll out, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. So that's a good question. Are they going to be able to roll out all the 4 albums in 1 year, or is it going to be 1 year per season?
I don't know. We're going to have to see.
Season per year, rather.
He also told the outlet that a musical movie is in the works, which is being helmed by a Broadway producer attached to Green Day's American Idiot show. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I can't believe it's taken me this long, he said. I think I just needed somebody else to come along and really encourage me. He recently described this spring installment of Weezer Seasons as Breezy Island. He also cited Franz Ferdinand as an inspiration for this. And they're still scheduled to for the Hella Mega tour with Green Day and Fall Out Boy in Europe. Those are still scheduled to go ahead as of now for this summer. I mean, we'll see, right? I mean, that tour got halted. I mean, that was a big tour, stadium style tour. So obviously was halted due to the pandemic. Can't really have shows in stadiums right now, right? So
right. Yeah, that probably won't happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Which leads us to your story, Jens. Do you have a story for us?
I do. Yeah, I have a story for us here on Music News. And it happens to be about stadiums reopening soon. So I think that segue is absolutely beautiful.
How about that for a segue?
Right.
Thank you.
I mean, incredible, right? All right. So specifically, we're talking about New York, right? So stadiums and arenas in New York are set to reopen. They're set to reopen and stage concerts.
Wow. How do I get into that, right? Like, I mean, I want to be there.
Yes, but only 10% of you can be there.
10% of me? So like my arm or something?
You probably can just pick which 10% can be there, but Governor Andrew Cuomo says
I choose my wiener. So
there you go. There's probably going to be a lot of dicks. So the governor says venues can run with a capacity of 10% starting February 23rd. So thus you can only bring 10% of you. Maybe I misread that. So stadiums and arenas in New York with a capacity of 10,000 people or more will be allowed to reopen later this month. So these are with a capacity of 10,000 people or more. Okay. According to New York governor, venues will run with what, you already said that. Oh, fucking hell. Okay. So in order for stadiums and arenas to reopen, all fans and staff planning to attend the event will need to provide some documentation. They're going to have to show that they're negative. They have to show a negative PCR test, specifically within 72 hours of the event, I would think. Let's see. They also have to have their temperature checked. No, that's no big deal. Like, we get our temperatures checked all the time, right? Upon entering the venue, and required to wear a face mask while in attendance. So that stuff is normal, but it's have you ever had to like go somewhere and bring a negative PCR test with you?
I haven't had to do that yet. No. I mean, I do get tested
like, do you have to do that to get onto an airplane or something? Or
I mean, maybe for if you're flying out of state or something, right? Like, I think my brother may have had to do that when he went to Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm hearing more and more of that kind of thing. I'm just not remembering the specific situations. But anyway, so more than 300 pop-up gigs will take place between February 20th and the 6th of September, but they wrote it the other way around, like it's
in England or something.
Yeah, between 20 February and 6th September at venues including the Apollo Theater, yay, Harlem Stage, yay, La Mama, yay, and Alice Bush Opera Theater. Yay. Okay. Okay, so the governor says the gigs will be staged at flexible venues with no fixed seating. So event formats can be reconfigured to allow adequate social distancing. I wonder how they're going to control that, though. You know,
it seems really tough. Like, I mean, but they're starting to do it. I mean, like they're doing it for some football games and stuff, right? So I imagine if it's a stadium, it'd be kind of the same sort of thing. I would think. As far as arenas inside, I don't know. That's where it gets a little sticky. Like I would feel okay with the right measures in place going to a show at a stadium, but as far as an arena, indoors, I don't know. I'm not there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing it happen. I mean, it's a little bit like my laundromat experience, where you know you go into the laundromat and 90% of the laundromat space is taken up by machines, right? So if you want to pass somebody, you're like literally rubbing up against them. And it's like that in concert venues too, right? You want to get up to get a beer or get a hot dog or whatever. You're like passing all these people in your row. Is it going to be one row per household? You know, like you get row J.
Right, and then
nobody can be
between
in K, L, M, N, O. You know, the next one is in Z. But then they're all standing in line for the bathroom or beers.
I want to know who's performing, like who's gonna, do these shows, because it sounds like this is starting pretty soon. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested.
It doesn't matter, man. We should get tickets. We should go.
We should get tickets to whatever it is.
Anyone's fine.
Anyone. We'll see anyone. Please.
I don't care, man. Anybody.
Yeah. Well, Jens, I have one more story for you.
Yes. Please tell me it's about our friend, Dave Grohl.
You know it is. Well, so Dave Grohl was on the Howard Stern show. I think it was last week. And he shared some stories, of course, right? You know, Howard's going to pull some interesting stuff out of any guest he has on the show. So, the Foo Fighters' Pat Smear said he, Dave Grohl, and Chris Novoselic occasionally get together and privately play as Nirvana during an interview with Howard Stern on Thursday, February 11th. So Stern prompted the revelation after asking Smear, who joined Nirvana in 1983, if he ever missed playing with the band. He said, every once in a while, me and Chris and Dave get together, and we do play as if we're Nirvana. So I don't have to miss it. We do it. If we're in the same town together or whatever, we'll get together and jam.
Cool.
And he said, he added that the last time they got together was at the house where the Foo Fighters recorded their most recent album, Medicine at Midnight. And then Grohl chimed in, we actually recorded some stuff. And so they, Dave Grohl did, and Smear admitted it often hurts too much to dwell on Nirvana memories or revisit those records. But Grohl then added that when he took his daughter out for a drive the other night, just to get out of the house, he was shocked to learn that she knew the words to Come As You Are.
Wow.
When it came on the radio. He said, I never play that record. We don't talk about Nirvana and stuff. And she's singing every word of the song. That to me feels good. So they also performed a 3-song set on Stern as well. But that's really cool. And actually, so God, when was it? I mean, I don't know how many years ago it was at this point, but when Dave came to Napa here and showed the Sound City Studio documentary and had a Q&A afterwards, I was the first to ask a question. And in the documentary, they recorded some Nirvana type songs on the Sound City Studio equipment. And I asked him, if they were going to release that at any point. And I don't remember his exact answer offhand, but it wasn't an emphatic yes. But it was probably at some point it'll see the light of day. So I mean, it's pretty exciting and awesome, right? So
maybe, yeah. It'll probably be on some super secret exclusive release that happens 20 years after all the members of Nirvana have passed away.
I mean, that's one of those things where the estate releases everything, right? After it's like Prince or something, right? So,
exactly. Yeah. It's all like all these deceased artists, they come up with this cool stuff. It's like, well, we were talking about that the other day. Who was it? Was it Paul McCartney, or I don't remember who it was, but it was someone where it's like you've been keeping that from everyone for like 40 years,
right? Yeah.
Are you serious?
Stuff stays buried for a long time sometimes. Sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it's like, oh man, that's so cool that for it to come out like that, right? So yes. Well, Jens, that's our show for today. So want to take a moment to thank Pablo from Good Bison for taking the time, and everybody for listening. Next week on the program, we have an artist named Christina Vane, and she's going to do a song for us as well. So, I mean, we're getting a lot of artists playing some songs, which is cool. It's the closest thing we got to a concert, Jens.
It is, man. We got to cherish it.
Yeah. Yep. So, for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, that's Jens Schippel.
And that is Steve Jones.
We'll catch you next time.